Thank you for joining, no?
Aye, thank you for inviting me. As always, I love sitting and chatting with you. I was saying to Yvonne last night, I wonder if it's just me and Curtis, or if it's Juanita is jumping in this conversation here. Is Juanita in this conversation too?
No, she's not. She's just passing through.
I'm not, black man. I'm not. I got 3 children awake.
All right then. All right,
but
then.
Yeah. and I think I'll be effing and blinding on here if we stay with the same.
She's not ready.
Topic.
We detouring, man.
Yeah. So I need to compose myself and let Christ reign as I turn over the tables with some good language.
Mm.
So it will be a struggle. It will be a struggle for me. But yeah, trying to get 3 kids in bed right now. But I know it's going to be a
fight the good fight.
I'm fighting a good fight. I will be listening upstairs.
All right then.
God bless you guys.
All right. Thanks, man.
Bro, let's kick it off. I had a conversation with a friend yesterday, and he said to me that in talking to his dad, his dad was saying to him, I've got some things that I need to deal with as a man from my past and whatnot, and he recognized it for himself. That kind of kicks off the topic, I reckon. What men need to know. We're not here, people, to talk about the differences in the way men and women think. That's not where we're coming from, and it actually means nothing to me. That topic has always meant very little to me
as well.
Say again?
That's not where I'm coming from either.
Yeah. Where are you coming from, bro?
And I may get a little emotional through this. I feel like I can feel it bubbling up in my belly right now. I want men to know that the fathers we didn't see, the fathers that we weren't taught to be, the men that we weren't taught to be, the partners and the husbands we never saw as men, we can still be that man. And that's it. That's what I want men to know. We didn't see it, but we can still be. If we allow ourselves to be asked the question what I felt God asked me before I was married. I was panicking because I was convinced I was going to fail. I was convinced I was going to be a failure.
As a married man?
Married man. As a married man, as a husband, as a future father, all of those things. And simply because I'd never seen it. My dad left when I was 5, left my mum with the last 5 of us to raise on our own. He never came back into the marital home again. And my mum never brought another man into the house after that. So I've never seen my mother with another man my whole life, other than my dad. Other than my dad, in terms of the remembrance of the 2 of them being together before 5. Yeah, my mum never brought another man into the home. And I was convinced, Kurt, I was convinced that I was gonna fail. Convinced I was gonna, because I was conscious. I never missed a father growing up. I'm the youngest of 10 children, 8 living, at the time 9 living. So, and then I got so many nieces and nephews. So the house was too full for me to be conscious of the fact that I missed a father. And I know across the road there were the Gordons, and the Gordons had their dad. You know what I mean? There was the Watkins family, and the Watkins family, their father wasn't in the home, but he was a constant presence around the road. You know what I mean? But my dad wasn't. So I was conscious of the fact that I would, as it were, vicariously, you know what I mean? Look and, I suppose, unconsciously or quietly, consciously wish for a father. But I never really missed. I never really missed. And then 25, 25, I met Yvonne. At 27 now, we're coming to get married. And literally a month before the wedding, I was quietly going through panic. I was quietly going through panic. And I consciously remember this day. In the midst of it, God saying to me, what did you deserve to see? I know you didn't see it, but what did you deserve to see? I just felt it as a question well up in my spirit. And I started just making a mental list of the things that I felt I deserved to see as a boy growing up, that I deserved to see as a son, that I deserved to see as a young man, just this list of just normal things, normal things. And I remember God saying to me, well, marry the girl. And I'll teach you how to do that as you go. I'll send people around you that will model that for you. I will send people dysfunctional around you that will model what not to be. And I will teach you to love as you go if you are committed to the journey of being in this space and loving in this space. Because the one thing that I always said was, I'm never going to be like my dad. I'm never going to be like my dad. And then I remember when I was recording when my mum turned 90, I was recording her. I was recording her story. I was recording her life story. And then my mum started just talking about things from the early years of their relationship and talking about my father. The one good thing about my mum is my mum never badmouthed our dad to us. As bad as he was, she just didn't. Her thing was, you want to know what your father's like? Go and live with your father. You go and sit with your father. You go and sit with your father. I'm living with my dad when I was in my 20s. I lived with him for about 6 months. And I clearly saw, okay, yeah, I came to terms with a lot of things. And then I went home. I just like, no, I can't stay here. And I went home. And I remember Mum telling stories about my dad, and oh, Kurt, it was like my father spat me out.
Explain.
You know when they say the apple doesn't fall from the tree? Yeah, I was the apple and the tree. My mum started talking, saying things, just describing things that were going on at the time, the way my dad navigated the world, the way my dad navigated the relationship, the way my dad was within the relationship. And it was almost like my dad was just born in me again and married to Yvonne. And, my mum is partially blind. So I'm recording my mum and I'm sitting behind the camera. And that was the only day I was glad that my mum couldn't see, because I sat there and wept. I sat there and I wept, you know what I mean? Because I was exactly like my dad. Exactly.
Now, you're saying this, right? You don't mind me picking at you to see where we're going with this, because what do you mean when you say you were exactly like your dad? Because I saw you've got a brilliant series that you've been hitting us with, yourself and Ria, cooking some food. So I know you can cook, right? I've seen you cook, and with your daughter. What is Eddie talking about when he says he's just like his dad, when I've seen the opposite?
Well, how I've been in our marriage, my selfishnesses, you know what I mean? The way I will excuse behavior, the way I will use, you know, I don't know if you've heard me and my nephew Dane talking about who we are as Hypolite and Hypolite males, and the way I will take advantage of that. And it just became apparent to me, damn, I am my father's child. I am my father's child. And I say all that to say that if we're willing to stick in the place where we've been given to grow, whether it be with somebody or whether it just be within ourselves, and come to terms with the fact that we have to stop this. We have to stop this. I ain't never going to be like him. I ain't never going to be like them. And accept the fact that there's a thing called friggin' DNA. And DNA means, yeah, you are going to be like him.
Right.
You know? But you can make a conscious decision not to be him.
Yeah.
If you're willing to do that, then the man that you deserve to be, the man that you deserve to be, the father that you deserve to see, the man that you deserve to see, all of those things you can be. You know what I mean? All of those things you can be. I remember when Yvonne and I had our engagement. We had our engagement, yeah, Kurt. And both our families got together. And, you know, it was a kind of the house of Hypolite, the house of Somerville. That's her maiden name. She's a Somerville. You know, they had the kind of size up. And then afterwards, at the end of the night, there was just words of advice, words of blessing. You know, Yvonne's grandmother, she was raised by her grandmother. Her grandmother spoke, her dad spoke, her mother spoke, grandfather spoke, my mom spoke. You know what I mean? My elder siblings spoke. And my dad was there. You know what I mean? My dad stayed on the periphery of our life. I never came into the center of our life. But he was there. He was there. And I was standing next to him. And my sister said to my dad, Dad, don't you have any advice for Eddie? You ain't got no advice you want to give Eddie. And my dad was sitting in a chair, was standing over him. You know what I mean? And my dad looked up at me and he said, stand your ground and fight your battles like a man. You know? And I thought, I said, thank you, Daddy. I will. Thank you, Daddy. You know what I mean? But in my mind, I was like, what? Like you did for us? Chop bun you, man. I don't even know what you're doing here anyway, man. Like what? Like you stand your ground, fight? You know what I mean? Inside me, I was raging. We got to about year 15 in our marriage, Kurt. We didn't have a 7-year itch. We had like,
yes.
we had like a year 15 rupture.
Bro.
We had like a 15-year rupture. And both of us during that period, we started down the road of indifference about the marriage. Yeah. Because, you know, the opposite of love isn't hate. The opposite of love is indifference. And we started down that road of indifference. And no word of a lie, Kurt, out of nowhere during that period, I heard my dad say, in my mind, stand your ground and fight your battles like a man. And I instantly understood what my dad was talking about.
Do you know what? You said that before. I've heard you use that quote from your dad before. Just what does that mean? When I look, I'm asking you tough questions.
Yeah.
All right. What does that mean? Look, you know, before I say any more, I appreciate the depths that you're going right now, because this is salvation for a lot of people. Yeah. So your courage is it's applauded. When Eddie says his dad said, or you remember your dad saying, "Stand your ground." What was your dad speaking to in you? Why that was a feature in some of the issues that you were having at year 15, in your life?
My dad's way of loving was removing himself. You know, so my dad loved until it became uncomfortable, and then he was just out. He was just out. You know what I mean? He was just out. You know, and we heard stories about my dad from other members of the family, and within my family, my dad is a hero. Oh, Charles did this and Charles did that, and Charles helped here, and Charles buy this for this cousin here, and Charles send money for family here. And we was like, well, what? Did no one ever tell that Charles have 10 children with Phyllis Hypolite over here? Like, them children can't see that money. That children can't see that help. That children can't see that hero. You know what I mean? And that was my dad's way. That was my dad's way. And what he was, I realized in reflection, what he was saying to me was, I already see the me that is in you. And you are going to come to that space where the me that the me that is you is going to surface. It's just in your DNA. He's going to surface. And when he surfaces, stand your ground. Stay here. Don't move out of here. Stand your ground. Stand your ground and fight your battles like a man. Stay in here. Stay in here. Fight. Fight for what you have here. Fight for what you're committing to here. And I didn't really understand it at the time. When he said it, you know, I was young and I didn't understand it. I suppose that only comes with years of loving, and that only comes with the reality of what being in that space actually means, and having to surrender to that space actually means. And I just realized, yeah. And that, yeah, I just realized that I had to stay in that space. And I'm using that as an illustration to say, as men, we can't spend all our lives fighting against the man that didn't raise us, because the man that didn't raise us, the good in him and the bad in him is in us. But we do get to choose. And I need you to understand. We do get to choose the aspects of who we want to be. We do get to choose. If we didn't see it, we get to choose to be it. You know what I mean? I remember a couple of years ago, Ria, we're going into winter now. And Ria, she had a bit of a cold, but I told Ria, listen, make sure you put this on, and make sure you take this on, you go to school. She's in secondary school. I think she was in about year 9 at the time. And she just called me. She called me, and she said, "Dad, can you, or Dad, can you bring in such and such for me, please? I'm not feeling well, and I'm feeling a bit cold. Could you bring in such and such for me?" And I said, and I texted her and I said, "I thought I told you to bring it in, you know." And she was like, yeah, I know, Dad. I'm sorry, you know what I mean? And I was mad over the text, and I was getting it together. And then when I started to get it together, it's like tears filled my eyes, because I got the opportunity to be the dad. I just realized my daughter is texting me from school saying, "Dad, can you come and save the day?" And I get to be the dad who just goes in that foolish, simple way and just saves the day for my daughter. You know what I mean? And I'm saying, I want men to know. I want men to know, if we can just stop for a moment. If we can stop for a moment and stop mentally resenting our fathers. And I know what I'm saying here is hard, because some of you are resenting abusive fathers. Some of you are resenting mentally and emotionally abusive fathers. Some of you are resenting fathers who made promises all their lives, but never knew how to keep their promises with you. Some of you are resenting fathers who just never took the time to care. Like literally never took the time to care. Never saw that simply keeping your word, like something as simple as keeping your word, that I'm going to turn up. Yeah, I'm going to turn up. That is important. And you spend so much time, and then others, you've never actually had the opportunity to know your fathers, and your mothers have just poisoned everything in your mind concerning your fathers. Your mothers they've never got over the heartbreak of this man who they gave themselves to, they gave their life to, they gave their mind to, they gave their bodies to, that this man just put this child in them and then just chipped out. Like, nah, I ain't on that. And just left you with this child. And they've never forgiven him. Or he didn't chip out and the relationship just didn't work out. They didn't know how to make love work. They just didn't know how to make love work. And he's just resented. He's gone off and he started a family elsewhere. He's gone off and he started a family elsewhere. And she's never wanted you to be a part of that. She's never wanted you to see that, because that felt so much like a disrespect for her. So you've never had a chance to see your father. You know what I mean? And then your mother's poisoned everything about you understanding who this man is. And you know, I'm saying, if you can take time to get past, to go through that, to see beyond that, not just to see that man beyond that, but to see yourself beyond that, then you begin to be able to sift through the things about him that you will whole scale reject, and the things about him that you know you can't avoid because it's in you, that is actually a part of your DNA. I lived with my dad for 6 months, and when I lived with my dad was an accomplished musician, an accomplished singer, you know what I mean, and a world-class orator, My dad would blow my mind telling me Anansi stories. You know what I mean? And I realized, it was in that moment that I was there that I realized, oh snaps. So that's where I get the ability to speak from. That's where I get the ability to think. I think with words, you know what I mean? I describe the world with words. That's who I get it from. You know what I mean? His love of music, his of understanding music, the way he understands music. That's where I get that love from. You know, it's actually on both our parents' side. And so, you know, his level of charisma, the level of in which people are drawn to him, just naturally drawn to him.
Wow.
And he would, and people would love being in his company. I was like, oh, because all of us have that as children. All of us have that as children. It rolls over into the grandchildren as well. And if you can take time, if we can take time as men to sift through and understand, look, there are things about this man that are in you that are always going to be in you, negative and positive, but you can choose how you begin to navigate that. You can choose how you build up on the positives and kill the negatives. But you'll never be able to do that if all you do is stay in that space of resentment. You know what I mean? And tell yourself, well, I ain't never seen it, so I can't be it.
Well, let me ask you this. Empress D87 says, I try so hard not to be negative about my son's dad, despite difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
What advice? I mean, you're on that topic now, but you're speaking to this. This is about men, but here we are, man. It's everybody, right? You're talking about carrying a weight of frustration, hatred, and she says, I try so hard not to be negative about my son's dad, despite difficulties. What would you like? What would you say to her right now?
If the relationship that you've had with him is negative, and it's been negative all the way through, then it's hard to find a positive out of the negative. You know what I mean? Your son is the positive out of the negative. Your son is the beauty out of that. And I don't know what to tell you other than, and I think you said it, your son will have to make up his own mind. Your son is going to have to make up his own mind. But yeah, for the sons, it's always going to be heartbreaking. It's always going to be heartbreaking. I don't, if he has contact with his father, or if he doesn't have contact with his father, but he has contact with the father's side of the family, he has contact with his grandparents on the father's side, he has contact with his aunties and uncles on the father's side, then piece by piece, he'll be able to piece together an understanding of who his father is, and who he is in response to that, and who he can be and who he will be in response to that. If there is none whatsoever, then he's going to have to build his understanding of who he is from who you are, who you've raised him to. From who you are, who you've raised him to be. There's going to be aspects of his dad that is going to raise up in him. And they're going to be ugly. And you ain't going to tell him you're just like your father. You're just going to note it and you're going to bend him away from it. But then there's going to be aspects of him that is going to raise up, that's going to be like his dad. And some of them things may be beautiful things. And you're going to bend him towards that also. There's things you're going to bend him away from, and there's things you're going to bend him towards. You know what I mean? I don't know how to tell you how to do that. That is the mystery of the power of a woman, a woman's teaching heart, a woman's teaching spirit, a woman's teachability. That is the depth of a woman. And I see that with my mum, that, you know what I mean? My mum never turned around and say, are you just like are you father? Are you just like, you know what I mean? I seldom heard my mum say that. I seldom heard my mum say that. Because I think she understood how debilitating that would be for us, because we didn't know what, are you just like are you father? We wouldn't know what that would mean. So I don't know if that answers all your questions, Empress. He does, but you feel like it's forced. If it wasn't for them, you don't think he would. Yeah, yeah. It's yeah.
I have a
So
question for you. Oh no, go
yeah.
ahead. Carry on.
Oh, I'm simply saying. So in my journey, I've come to terms with who I am in the light of him, where I am, and I'm choosing. I'm choosing to be the things that I deserve to see. I'm choosing to be the things that I deserve to see. I'm recognizing the aspects of him in me that pops up. You know, my dad was an alcoholic, and back in the day, our crew, we never allowed drinkers in our crew. Never. You know what I mean? You could maybe take a little, you could take a little rum and black or whatever you drank here and there. But like a drinker, nah, we never allowed drinkers in our crew. Nah, if he was a drinker, yeah, I never even kept drinkers as friends, like serious drinkers. We were all smokers, but we weren't drinkers because I ain't never going to become the addict that my dad is. You know what I mean? The alcoholic like my dad is. Not understanding that the propensity towards addiction was in my DNA. You know what I mean? And I became an addict when it came to smoking weed. An addict, So, I mean, it's, there are things within him that I can choose. I think I've come to the space where I understood I can choose. There's aspects about him that I can choose, and there's aspects about him that I can refuse. And once I understood that, I came to know that everything, I said to, I was telling this to my sister, my eldest sister, last year, when she came and stayed over for like about 6 months, stayed with mom. And I was telling her about this story and about the stand your ground and fight your battles like a man, and she was saying, you ain't supposed to just be everything that daddy wasn't, Eddie. You're supposed to be more than everything that daddy wasn't. That's what you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be much more than that. And I felt it so affirming. She's the eldest in the whole family. You know what I mean? She's the eldest in the whole family. And to have her speak that over me, for me, was so important. And yeah, so I mean, I want men to know. I want you to know as men that the things we didn't see our fathers do, the things we deserve to see, the fathers we deserve to see, the husbands or partners long term that we deserve to see and we didn't see. We don't have to live with that. Well, I didn't see it, so I can't be it.
Well, I was just going to ask you on that note, how does a man turn? What is the awakening point? Maybe for you, you could maybe remember, or was there an event, an instance that said, hold on, what am I doing? How does a man not have that example and then wake up and beat the example?
Well, for me, it happened simply because I had met somebody that made me feel worthy of. That's a very good question. I remember my big brother. Hold on, I'm just answering Ashley Love. I remember my brother saying to me, if you want to understand why dad is, you have to look at the man who raised dad. You have to look at your grandparents. Yeah. Because basically you raise what you see, you know what I mean? And I'm not sure totally. My mom tells me stories. and they're not negative stories. Yeah. But this is the one thing I do know. My dad was one of 6 sons. And most of them had children. Most of them were married. And the ones who were married stayed long-term in those marriage relationships. You know what I mean? I met a first cousin in Jamaica when I lived there, Joy. And her dad and my dad are brothers. She's older for me. She's about as old as my eldest brother. And we met, and it's like we knew each other instantly. You know what I mean? And her dad, she was a daddy's girl, and her dad raised her, stayed with the mum forever. You know what I mean? So you know, just on the strength of that. And it's a good question. And you know, when I speak to my mum, again on the phone, I'll ask her, what was daddy's parents like? You know, I've heard stories about his mum, and his mum didn't actually want my mum to marry daddy. You know what I mean? And it's not because his mum didn't like my mum. I think his mum was, my grandmother was trying to save my mum. Like, no, you ain't ready for him. You're way too delicate, man. You ain't ready for Charles. You know, you ain't ready for Charles. And I remember her telling me that yeah, the mum didn't want it. You know, and so yeah, I forgot what I was talking about.
Your turning point.
My turning point was actually coming to the place where I was gonna be married and wanting to, you know. And my turning point before that even was, like anyone, I place so much emphasis on love. And being loved and finding the right person, and this is what I want. You know what I mean? That foolish list. And then finally getting the list at one point in my life, you know, and then the list just turned out to be a nightmare in the end, you know, and understanding it was about more than just a list. It was about understanding the heart I was loving, and understanding that lists are about what you want, but love is about what you need. You know what I mean?
Say that again.
Lists are about what you want, but love is about what you need. You know, love is about what you need. You know, yeah, lists are about what you want, but love is about what you need. And you can't bring a list to love, because love is a surrendered to thing. It's a surrendered to thing, you know. And you've heard me say a million times, love is going to take you further than you want to go. Love is going to keep you longer than you want to stay. Love is going to keep you, it's going to ask you to pay more than you have to pay. Love is going to ask you to dive deeper than you want to dive. It's going to have to ask you to, love is going to ask you to climb higher than you want. And you can't take no list to love, because you have to surrender to love. Sometimes you don't even know the direction this love is taking you in, you know, so you can't take a list to that. You can't take a list to that, you know. You can understand your need for love, and you can understand your need to love. And then, you know, so for me, the turning point was understanding that, and then finding somebody who were about, and somebody who was willing to trust their heart to me. As shagged up as it was. And so I think that was a big turning point for me. You know, a big turning point for me was becoming a man of faith, and being conscious of the real change that had taken place, you know, being a man of faith. It didn't mean that I had become, by no stretch of any imagination, that I'd become any type of perfect man. It just meant that I had just kind of come to the starting line of a new journey in myself, and a new journey with myself, and a more established, grounded journey, spiritual, and what that meant in all other aspects of my life. So I think those were turning points. Those were turning points for me. And then I suppose the deeper turning point, I don't even know if it's a specific turning point, Kurt. I think as I continue to grow, as I continue to live, and as I continue to journey through marriage, understanding the type of husband that I was. You know what I mean? Did you have children after marriage? Yeah, I did. Yeah, I didn't have children before marriage. We waited 10 years actually before we had Rhea. You know, we waited 10 years before we had Rhea. And that wasn't intentional. We just, in the early days of our marriage, we just had plans for world domination together, and we was just trying to achieve that. And then, you know, 10 years in, was like, listen, we better get this pick-me in here. We better get this pick-me in here. So, yeah, I think that was the turning point for me. You know, the fathers that we chase, that is inside of us chasing us too. Yeah, the men that we chase, that is inside of us chasing us too. That is outside of us chasing us too. We do get to choose. We do get to choose, you know. I think what men need to do is men need to be honest, more honest. Men need to be honest. Men need to be accountable. Men need to surround themselves with men who ain't afraid to have these conversations. Men need to surround themselves with men who they're willing to be accountable to, who are willing to take them to much deeper spaces within themselves, who are able to not let them dwell on what they've never had, but help them to build from where they are. All right, you've never had it. All right, what should you have had? Write it down, imagine it, speak it into the world. What should you have had? All right, okay, let's build that then. Let's build you into that person. Let's build you into that person, you know, so that when you come now to be with somebody, or if you're never with somebody, inside of you, this is the person that is navigating the world. This is the person that is navigating the world. But especially when it comes to be with somebody else, that you are not going to be, you are not going to be what you never saw. You aren't going to be a repeat of that. You know what I mean? This ain't a trilogy. This ain't like Harry Potter. You know, no. This is a one-time story. That story ends with, you know what I mean? And for me, I was like, no, that narrative of us ends with me in our journey. It ends with me. I am going to write a different narrative. I'm going to write a different narrative for us as men, for us as fathers, for us as friends, for us as all of them.
Yeah, write your own story. You write your own story. Yeah. I love that.
I can't do nothing about that. I can't do nothing about that. But I can do something about the story that I write. You know what I mean?
That's powerful. That is so powerful. That there is a point I'd like to just spend a few more minutes on, and then I'm going to come to Miss Coach, Miss Declutter. I want writing your own story. I think for me, there were things that influenced my story, but I think one of the things that helped me was having children or a child, and it kind of made me. It forced me to kind of pull out a pen and say, what am I not going to do? What am I not going to be? And growing up as a man before marriage, and even during marriage, having a lot of fear. Fear kind of dictates a lot of decision making. And then having a child kind of made me pull out the pen and start writing how I need to be as a dad. Actually was me telling me how I need to be as a man. Question to you is, how has having a child influenced you being a man?
I think having a child has shown up. Actually, just sitting here reflecting with you now, I think having a child has shown up aspects of my dad where people say, yeah, my dad was a hero. The best father I know, is my brother Simon. Now, my brother Simon has 4 children. You know what I mean? He has 4 children, and he has 4 children with 3 different women. Okay. The relationships didn't work out. One, his eldest son, he had when he was young. That was my brother's first love, but it didn't work out. He had a long-term relationship, had 2 children there. He committed himself to being married, and the relationship didn't work out. The marriage didn't work out. And he has 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls. If you see the way these children love each other and love their father, even though the relationship didn't work out with the mothers, and with 2 of the mothers, he went through hell to be near to his children, to be a father to his children, to stay in there, deal in the early days with the poisoning of his children's minds, you know what I mean, towards him, and him having to patiently love through that and be there. And in him, I'm like, all right then. So that's the hero that I heard them talk about with my dad being that hero that we never saw. But my brother is that man. He's the best example of a father that I've seen. You know what I mean? The best example of a father. A brilliant example of a father is my best friend, D Vincent, Demas. Brilliant father. Brilliant father. And we are all men that never saw that. We never saw that. You know? We all men who were just raised by just our mothers. And we've had to figure it out as we've gone along. We've had to figure it out as we've journeyed. And so I got off on a tangent. What was your question again?
Hey, don't worry, man. You kind of answered, you know. You kind of answered. Coach LaVille had a point, you know. I'm going back up now. My biggest fear is turning into the person my father is. I feared narcissism could be inherited. Thankfully, my mum's chromosomes shield me from his traits.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that sounds like a conscious brother.
And not only that, it's beautiful that you even say that, because the fact is you recognize it. Yeah, it's there, and that's your superpower. Yeah, my father's narcissism, my biggest fear is that I'm turning into him. You know what I mean? No, your biggest fear needs to be the fact that you recognize it and you choose to do that. But once you recognize it, like, I'm like, no, I'm not going to be that person. I am going to fight that person. I am going to fight, because I don't want to be that person. You know what I mean? I don't want to be that person. So somebody's asked some question. My husband said he wants to be the type of man that we would want our daughter to come home one day. Yeah. I love this topic. Yeah. Something my son would benefit from. Yeah. For me, being that father with Ria, I remember the question. What changed was me realizing all the ways in which my daughter is so much like me. You know, any parent who is a parent here, you get mad with your children. Most of the times, you're being mad with the you that you see. You're just like, oh my gosh, you're phoning your parent. I remember one time, Ria was just going through a difficult period in year 7.
Yeah.
And I called my mom, and I was just crying down the phone. I'm a failure as a dad. Mommy, I bet you. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then my mom laughing at me down the phone. She started. I swear. I went from to like, Mum, man, Mom, you know what I mean? My mom started laughing at me down the phone. Mom said 2 words to me. Just 2 words. Just 2 words, Kurt. Mommy said, she'll settle. And then she said, you settled. She'll settle. Just calm yourself. That's all she said. She said she'll settle. Mom laughed at me down the phone. She'll settle. You know what I mean? You know. Like,
hey, that is that's good news right now. I'm telling you that right now. That is what I needed to hear.
Yeah, that's it. Hey, listen, hey D, believe me, we was convinced we was having a son. When I saw a girl come out, I was like, Lord. What? Darren was saying, I believe that God sent me a daughter to give me a taste of my own medicine. Like, oh Lord, you know. And yeah, being a father to Rhea has taught me about understanding myself, understanding her. I remember at one time, same in year 7, she was just going off the rails. And I sat her down one day, you know, I just realized that I recognized that year 7 child. I was that year 7 child, but doing far worse. Yeah. I sat her down one day, and instead of just doing the, you know what I mean, the born in 1965 Caribbean, listen to better, I sat her down and I said, you feel like you're going off the rails, innit, baby? You feel like you're just... And she just sat there and she couldn't even speak. She just nodded and tears were streaming down her eyes. And I remember saying to her, listen, all you are is a superhero that doesn't know how to control her powers yet. I said, you see your mom and me? We have learned to control our superpowers. And our job is to teach you how to control your superpowers. And you need to listen to us because that's what we do. That's our job, you know. Inside of me, I was bawling like, Lord, Lord, enough of my superpowers I ain't even got control over yet myself. Help
bro,
me.
Listen. Listen, 20 seconds. I'm going to catch you on the next live, man.
All right.
I'm going to catch you on the next live. Guys, just see us back in a second. We will be living back in about 5 seconds. See you in a sec. Oh, man. This got me. How do I end this? Oh, there it is.
Wow. Miss Declutter, if you come back on, if you catch this, ask your question again. I did say that I was going to bring you back on.
Miss Declutter and Clean. Just ask your question again. I think it was something to do with if I want to ask Eddie. Oh, Eddie. So we had a question for you from, and I don't think she's here yet. So should we ask it now? Did you ever feel the need? No, we'll come back to that question because I think she might need to come on. I haven't seen her come on. But we've got a question here for you already, bro. Where is it? Oh, no, it's a comment. All you are is a superhero that doesn't know how to use his superpowers yet. Yeah.
Mm.
So you saw yourself. You saw yourself.
And saw myself, you know what I mean? And I think being a father has helped me to navigate the patience. What it was that my mum went through. I understood what it took. I understood the difficult place. You know, I've had to learn to love in a whole other way as a father. I've had to learn to love in a whole other way as a husband. You know,
right?
You know, Rhea never tries it with me. You know, all right, fathers and daughters, you know, there's one left. Daughter just has around your finger. And as men, we admit that to ourselves, but we don't admit that to them. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, chat man, big man, you know, but we admit that to them. But then, you know, there's certain things that she'll never try with me, but sometimes I may I'll see her try to rail up with her mum. And I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
hey, that's the wife you're talking to there, you know. You better mind your mouth. Are you mad? Listen, I will take off that weave and beat you to death with your weave, man. Don't try that with my wife. You know what I mean?
It's funny. Coach Laville's like, Eddie, can you adopt me, please, bro? It sounds like he needs to be put in his place, man. He needs some career treatment.
I love Jay, man. Jay is one of my favorite people in the world, man. Jay, for those of you who don't know Jay, Coach Laville from Power Wave, listen, connect yourself to him. He is a beautiful human being, you know. Yeah, Pippa Fox. Yeah, you see the best and the worst of yourself in your child. I remember when Rhea was young, yeah, and like Hypolites, we have, you know, mine are 55-year eyelashes, so they don't do it anymore. So, but we have is that come out and go all the way over. They just go all the way over. They're big, you know what I mean? I remember one evening I'm walking to the car. I was away somewhere. I met Yvonne and Rhea. We're walking to the car and Yvonne said, Eddie, said to Rhea, well, go on, tell Daddy. And Rhea must have only been about 3-4 years old.
Okay.
And I was like, what? And then Rhea was afraid to tell me. Yvonne said, Eddie, she cut her eyelashes.
That's not like Charlie.
Yeah, we got into the car and I held up her head underneath the light and her eyelashes were just flat. I was like, what? What are you doing? You know what I mean, brother? You know, she got Daddy, they just had a knife at scissors, and I just wanted to see if the scissors were sharp. And
that is Charlie, man. That is Charlie.
And the deep thing was, I was so mad about it. Anyway, I'm in my office the next morning because I'm writing a sermon. It's a Saturday morning. I'm writing a sermon. I have to go and
change a sermon.
Figure out why I'm so mad. Why am I so mad with the girl? And then it dawned on me. And then tears came into my eyes. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's just like me. I used to do that foolishness as a child. Oh, my child is cursed. I'm serious. I was like, and that was the first time I saw that you're not mad with you. You're not, you know, especially when they're younger, you're not mad with them. You're mad with the youth. You're seeing them. And I remember her coming into the office and she put her hand on my shoulder and she said, Daddy, they will grow back. They will grow back, Daddy. I was like, I know they will, but I just, you know, so wow. being a father has allowed me to see that in all kind of different ways. It gets more complex and gets more complicated as they get older. You know what I mean? Because as they get older and they begin to like navigate that world themselves. You know, one thing when they're 3 and 4 years old and it's cute, but when they start to get to 13 and 14 and 15, you're just like, it's a whole other conversation now, because you begin to really see, and that's where you have to give them the space to navigate that. I just realized I have to give her the space to navigate that, and I have to learn to do that and not seeing it. I have to do that. I have to learn to do that, not seeing it, but at the same time, feel confident in the father I've been so far, and in the man that I've been so far, and in the husband that I've been so far, to and then just be that soft place for her to fall. You know, somewhere along the line, she's gonna have to just make her and be that soft place, be that father, and be that, you know, be what I needed at that time. You know,
I remember starting out as a dad, having the reins very tightly in my hand and looking down one day, symbolically looking down one day and realizing that she wasn't even in the reins that I thought I was controlling, which scared me. And it was a reality check that sometimes our children are compliant and sometimes they're not. Sometimes they are one of us as parents and they cannot be controlled. And like you said, instead of me trying to control my child, I have to be there when they fall.
Mm.
That's it.
See, that's why I'm glad that Juanita isn't here. You know what I mean? Because she writing the questions that I just didn't want to look her in her face and see her ask. Do you feel like you still want to be fathered as a grown man? Which grown man doesn't want to still feel like they're going to be fathered? Like, yeah, I do. I have older, when I say older, I mean men old enough to be my father, who are mentors in my life. And it's not because I want to be fathered as much as I know that I need that type of wisdom. I need that type of perspective. I need that type of help. I need that type of, I need older eyes over me. I need older eyes over me to say, nah, you're all right, you're doing all right. Or like, nah, you need to pull your head out. like, are you serious? Or just not say nothing. Just listen to me. Listen to me rant. Listen to me cuss. Watch me cry, and then get on with it. You know what I mean? And I have somebody like that here. I have somebody like that here, you know, and he's a white man, so it doesn't even actually make a difference who that man is. That man is a man, and that man adds to my life that level of that man adds to my life that thing that I need. And so we can choose, you know what I mean? Yeah, I still feel like I want to, on that sense, not so much be fathered one, but have that father figure that I can actually, as a man and as a husband, actually go to and have older eyes over me, have older eyes over me.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
How has Yvonne what has Yvonne taught you about being a man?
She's taught me that I don't have to be what. She's reminded me that I don't have to. No. Let me talk about the things that she's taught me, as opposed to the things that she's reminded me. She's taught me that she's taught me that my celebration is her celebration. She's taught me that when you celebrate your success, you're celebrating our success. When you celebrate your triumph, you're celebrating our triumph. You know what I mean? When you fail, I fail. And that isn't a thing where it's a noose around my neck. She's just taught me that when you join your life to somebody, you join everything to that person. That person is joining everything to you. And you're worthy. You're worthy to have that happen. You know, she's actually deeply taught me, you know, especially because, and I say it all the time, and I actually mean it deeply, that she has honestly loved me past my love by date. And that's a whole other thing. We'll discuss that another time, so don't ask me what that means. We'll discuss that another time. We'll discuss that in the book.
It's coming.
She has loved me way past my love by date. And she has taught me that as a man, it is your duty to journey with that difficulty, stay in that space. Stay here. You know what I mean? Your heart is always going to be safe here. Your love is always going to be safe here. Your journey is always going to be safe here. Your secrets are always going to be safe here. You know what I mean? Your humanity is always going to be safe here. Your vulnerability, your nakedness, you know, because she sees me like no one else sees me. You know what I mean? Is always going to be safe here. And so she's taught me that as a man, it's possible to stay in that space and love in that space. There she taught me. Yeah,
it sounds like she's made your journey of discovery, your evolution as a man easier.
I don't know that she's made it easier. She's made it, I wouldn't say that she's made it easier, because there's some things that I've had to discover about myself, and in discovering it, it's sometimes it's come at great pain, and sometimes pain to her. But what she's done is she's made not so much the discovering of myself easier. She's made the discovering of myself permissible. She's made the discovering of myself possible. You know what I mean? The discovering of especially the real darker parts of myself. She's made it redeemable. You know, like, all right, this is coming up. All right, you know, she's made it redeemable if I'm willing to do the work. I ain't doing the work for you, but if you're willing to do the work, you know what I mean, about this side of yourself that you've discovered, about this type of attitude, if you're willing to do the work in it, then I'm going to make it redeemable because I'm staying here. You know what I mean? I'm staying here with you. If you're willing to do the work. Yeah, I ain't going to do that work for you. I'm not doing that work. That is your work to do. You know, and so understanding that I still want to stand my ground and fight my battles like a man. Understanding that I don't want to run like my dad would. Understanding that I'd still want to be the things that I deserve to see. She has made the discovery of myself. She has made it doable. She has made it bearable. she has made it redeemable, and which is good. Yeah. It's misleading. Yeah, you're giving 100. You have to, man. I went with that. You know, my mum banned that Teddy Pendergrass. Said it's not 30-40, 60-10, but a 50-50 love. I remember years ago going to my mum with that in a relationship that I was in. And I was like, Mom, I'm giving my 50, she's giving me 50. You know, Teddy was teaching me. Get
your mouth.
Mama, what kind of stupidness you talking there, boy? 50-50. You know what I mean? Mama, but all you have to give 100%. A 50-50. So like, yeah, bun Teddy Pendergrass, man. You know what I mean? I'll dance to the group. Like,
the lyrics.
But I'll give a different tune. You know what I mean? Yeah, just leave it what it is, Ed. It's a rare groove. Leave it. Don't bring that. Yeah. Just dance to that. Yeah. Don't go. You know. So.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
What is the influence from your faith, your relationship with Christ? How has that influenced your journey of being a man?
Oh, that is everything. I remember asking my mum in her 40s. No, when I was in my 40s. I remember asking Mummy when I was in my 40s, Mum, why did you never bring another man home? You know what I mean? Because Mum would threaten us, you know. I'm going and find a hard-working Irish man. I'm going and find a hard-working Irishman and bring him in the house. I'm like, no, not the Irishman. Not the Irishman. It's like, not the Irishman. When my dad left my mom, God spoke to her out of Isaiah 44:45, and found that text where God said to her, when your husband leaves you, I'll be a husband to you, I'll be a father to the children, and I will take away the reproach from your name. And so Jesus met my mom, and Jesus met my mom and made those promises to her. And Miss Lee said, my mom did bring an Irishman into the house.
Wow.
Oh my Lord. No, you need to interview her, man. I actually want to hear that story. I actually want to. She's like, my mom did bring an Irishman into the house. And
I've been watching Ashley. I think she's gonna come on the show one day very soon.
Listen,
I've been watching her.
Irish, real Irish, you know. And yes, and Jesus kept the promise. Yeah, he was a husband to my mom. He was a father to us, and he took away the reproach. He took away the reproach. And so I've always said my whole life I've been raised by my mom and Jesus. And I do know, looking back, you know, life happens in real time and you understand it in retrospect, you know. So I do know that in retrospect, looking back, there were times when God sent men into my life. Even when I was in, you know, I got taken out of my home because, you know, I was just a juvenile delinquent, got placed in a community home school. And he sent Cliff German. Cliff German was my engineering teacher. And he was like a savior to me. I was in a school where you didn't get an education, you got a trade. It was one of those schools, and I decided to do engineering. And I spent 3 years in his engineering work. And he was wisdom, he was fatherly, he was, you know what I mean, I ain't gonna treat you like a criminal, Eddie. I ain't gonna treat you like a criminal. I'm gonna treat you just like a young lad who's made bad mistakes, all right? But if you ever act like a criminal, I'm gonna treat you like a criminal, all right? All right? Like, yeah, Mr. German. And he was just a beautiful man, and beautiful man to the place where I left school, went back to the street. Then in my 20s, I reconnected with him. I reconnected with him around about 25, 26. And he stayed in my life until he died of cancer. He stayed in my life. You know what I mean? He was at my wedding. He was at the major events in my life. Cliff German was there. He was just there, you know. And so I see in that I saw God keeping those promises of being a father, vicariously sending people around. And then me, I suppose, being where I am now, it's him. It's him that actually really has done the work. He is the one that has really done the work on my mind and on my spirit and on my heart to stay in this space, love in this space, be that man in that space, you know. And he continues to actually send men around me, surround me with solid men, you know what I mean? Allow me to be the mentor to brilliant men, allow me to be the big brother to brilliant men. In some cases, allow me to be the father to brilliant men. And all of those things are the things that ground me as well. You know, so Jesus has been everything. He has been everything. He has been everything. You know, Misty, nothing is ever wasted. Your life could be 3 trilogies. Do you think that is why you invest so much in young men? And also, what is the best advice you would give to young men now? Yeah, I think that is why I invest so much in young men. Yeah, I suppose that is why I invest so much in young men, because I want them to know that their lives aren't wasted lives. Their lives are actually just started. You know what I mean? And the advice I would give them is be around solid men who have lived more than you, who have seen more than you, who have been through what you've been through, but they're not in that space no more. They're not in that space anymore. You know, they chose to move out of that space. Be around those men. Go to those men and ask those men to mentor, to mentor you. You know, I always say, you know, if you want me to mentor you, you have to give me, you have to ask me to mentor you. And that's not because I feel, because I feel like I'm anything mystic, clutter and clean. That's not because I feel like, yeah, you know, saying, "Child, my name is Eddie Hypolite, you know, you have to come and ask me." I just know that when if you have to give me permission to speak the type of truth into your life that mentoring really is, and unless you ask me to mentor you, you're not actually giving me that permission. Because somewhere along the line, you're going to be like, "Child, who you think you are, man? Child." So for me, like, you want me to mentor you, you have to ask me to mentor you. Because then you're giving me permission to be true. Otherwise, sure, let's just keep it light and just do acquaintances. Just keep it light and do acquaintances. You know what I mean? I won't be in your business. You know what I mean? I won't be in your business. I may have an opinion, but I won't be in your business. But if you know, so for me, I feel that is an important thing. Let me see.
You got Ria Antonia.
Yeah, go on.
No, she was saying, I was just reminiscing the amazing pen pal you were to me as a teenager when you're in Jamaica. Thank you. Not just men. It's not just men you've helped. Darren, my advice to everybody, read the red letters of the Gospels. Make a list of everything Jesus said to do and do not do. Study the list and put it into practice. Words.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Miss Ashley, I'm going to get you on the show because you've just got so much to say, right? The world and the enemy will have them believe this is it when they don't see men who showed them there's a way out.
Yeah.
And a way through a new life, new kingdom. Uncle Eddie, you're already my mentor from afar. I listen to every word and hold them dear to me.
Much love, D. Much love, King.
I've got one more question for you.
Sure.
Who do you want to thank? It's just that simple.
I want to thank my father.
Oh. Hold on. You went there, you know, you have to explain that one, and then we can move on.
All right, I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read. Sorry, it's like, you know, this book has been more catharsis than anything. Yeah. I'm gonna read it. I believe we are our greatest when we pour the distilled best of ourselves into the lives of others. Even if the best comes in the closing chapters of your life and all you have left is the distilled learning that comes from loss and regret. At my father's funeral, his firstborn son and my eldest brother Matthew read his eulogy. He summed up the complicated, brilliant, and distantly loving man my father was as a Caribbean man. And the whole church groaned in a shared acknowledgement of the father's many people in the congregation knew to be the same as mine. I wish I was emotionally grown enough at the time to recognize what my father was trying to tell me, instead of allowing retrospect tears and multiple mistakes to be the principal teacher. I never really got a chance to thank my father for that invaluable lesson that he taught me all those years ago, to stand my ground and fight my battles like a man. On April 25th, 2018, we celebrated 25 years of marriage. I think those years will speak their gratitude and thanks. So, and then it says, thanks, Daddy. So, yeah, I wanna thank him for being vulnerable enough in that space and honest enough. I never understood it at the time, but I know the older siblings would have listened to him and get what he was saying at that time. I want to thank him. I want to thank my mum for being that godly woman, for being that beautiful Christian woman, for being that woman who loved me like a father and that loved me like a mother and beat me like a father. You know what I mean? I want to thank her. I want to thank Mr. German for sticking in there with me. But when I needed that person, I want to thank the educators who shaped the way I thought. Barbara Bees being the first one. Barbara Bees, a black activist, an educator, who saw me when I was 17 and understood my capacity to consume information. You know, Mr. German was the one who understood my capacity for learning, and Barbara was the one who understood my capacity and my love for books. I want to thank another woman, my professor in seminary, Dr. Olive Hemmings. Dr. Olive Hemmings Painstill. Oh my gosh. You know, she is still a giant. And for any of you, just look up Olive Hemmings, Dr. Olive Hemmings on YouTube and listen to her as a theologian, as a black intellectual. She was my professor in seminary. She was my professor in seminary. And she shaped so much of my thinking. I want to thank Dr. E.L. Henry, who was the one who just released me into the culture when I was a young minister. He saw everything about me, and he put me in a bow like an arrow, and he just fired me hard into the culture. I want to thank my brother Simon for being such a beautiful example of being a father before I was a father. And my best friend D for allowing me to journey with him as he is a father of older sons and father of younger children now. But most of all, I want to thank Yvonne for allowing me to grow into the man that I am now, allowing me to grow, allowing me to see myself this far down, you know, allowing me to see myself this far down. None of us get to where we are on our own. You know, there is no such thing as a self-made man. That's an illusion and a lie. Everybody needs help from somebody to get to where they are. You know what I mean? Yeah, I wanna thank her, thank Rhea for allowing me to be a father, for allowing me to work it out myself. You know. Yeah. I wanna do that. And then I wanna thank just all the other young men that allow me to pour anything of worth or that they think is worth into their journey. You know. Yeah, it's yeah. So that's what I want every man to know. You know, you can be and more everything that we didn't see. Everything that our absentee fathers didn't see, our distant, our no fathers, everything that we deserve to see as young men and as men, we can be that, and we can be more than that. We can be more than that. I just wrote down some things.
Yeah, man.
Create cultures of learning around you. Create cultures of learning about yourself. Create cultures of learning about your journey. Unlearn emotional responses. Somebody said it so well. You know, I'm afraid of being the narcissist. You know what I mean? That's you in the process of unlearning those responses that are in your DNA.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Understand the strength of vulnerability. Vulnerability is not weakness. Not knowing is not weakness. If you don't know something, it only means you just don't know something. That's not weakness. That is human. That is human as a man. You know what I mean? And live within a space, create a space of accountability around you as a man. A man who doesn't have an accountability person, a person that can say to him, quiet, sit down, don't speak, listen. And you do that. A man who doesn't have that around him is a weapon of mass destruction. Is a weapon of mass destruction. As men, we need that accountability person. You know what I mean? Yeah, strength and vulnerability can coexist. As a matter of fact, strength can only truly exist if it has vulnerability to counterbalance it. Vulnerability can only exist if it has strength as to buoy on. The both of them actually have to coexist together in order to truly to be something. So yeah, we can do that. That's what I want men to know. That's what I want men to know. Yeah, that's me.
Listen,
This has been Kurt. I need you to know.
Say that again.
This has been cathartic, man. Believe me. Thank you for this. Thank you. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for creating this space for me to reflect on it. You know. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you, brother. Love you. Love you from one. Love you from one.
Do you know? No, it's all right. Yeah. You guys, you have to understand that when we're hosting or presenting or guests on this on things like this, what we do here is heavy, and sometimes you'll see me. Sometimes you'll just see me staring, and sometimes I'll ask Eddie a question, and Eddie he's got the pause going on, and you know what? Because it's deep. It's deep and heavy. We're drawing from wells where the water's deep. But this is therapy. You better be learning from this. I can tell you all the right things. Eddie, you know the interesting thing, I just want to drop this on there. The thing that is through the conversations I'm having with people of late, what scares me, man, is people who are preaching life into others, like ministers, life coaches, teachers, and they haven't been able to apply any of these lessons to themselves. So they themselves are dying whilst they're imparting life to others. That cannot be me. And so here I am listening to you. And I'm listening to you because I'm thinking, how am I going to put this in and work it out? How am I going to overcome my past or come to terms with it? Like, I'm sitting here listening to you. I knew this all along, but I'm listening to you now, and it's created a new desire for me to just keep going. I will not be preaching or teaching about something that I'm not doing. I'm going to live what I'm teaching.
Yeah.
Go on, bro.
This is the truth. Sometimes preachers preach in order to figure their way forward. You know, I always say to a young preacher, you know, and preachers who are writing their sermons, like, did you cry when you wrote this? And they're like, no. Oh, well, then don't preach that then. You ain't convicted by that. Hey, you've got to come to the, before you sit there and chat about what you're going to be like. If this thing didn't bring you to your own altar call in your mind, then don't say that. Yeah. All you're doing is putting together words. You're just putting together words. And I think sometimes preachers, you know, I heard Henry Wright say, you know, God called you to ministry in order to save your soul, because he knew that without ministry, you'd be lost.
I heard that sermon. Yeah.
And that makes sense to me, you know. I think there's a difference between a hypocrite and somebody who is just, you know, somebody who's journeying and figuring it out. You know what I mean? So I think even with yourself, you know, you're journeying and you're figuring it out. This is therapy. This is therapy. You know what I mean? You and Juanita, it's just like, you have weekly therapy. So it's just like, you believe me, all of these shows, you have racked up thousands of pounds worth of therapy. People don't even understand. They are actually sitting through thousands of pounds worth of therapy every time you two come on and do this. It's like, if you had to pay for this stuff, you know, it's crazy. And so I think, you know, there's one thing between, there's a difference between somebody. It's one thing if you're just a preacher who's a hypocrite, and the other thing if you're a preacher who's working their way out. And sometimes you have to preach in order to practice. Yeah, you know what I mean?
I believe.
And practice in order to preach. You know what I mean? You know, and there's the difference between that and somebody who's just a straight up hypocrite and they're just in it because it sounds good and they're going to make money. You know what I mean? And they're going to get following. You know what I mean? It's a very...
I want people to know, on this channel, we just want honesty. We don't need perfection. Perfection is the bar that Christ set, but I'm on my way there. But I'm letting you know about my journey. And the beautiful thing is, I mean, as a young man watching you preach growing up, I see you different now. Just like others and my friends and all the other people that we have on here. You know, people are a different color now. People have, in reality, underneath their suits and underneath their makeup, there's holes punched. And here we are, we're saying, and I'm going to say it to people. I mean, Juanita and I haven't really given much of what we're about on this show, but listen, man, there's holes punched under this t-shirt, man, trust me. And I'm not going to lie about it. I'm going to tell you.
Yeah. And we've allowed each other, I think, the strength of the relationship that you, Juanita, Yvonne and I have is we have an actually deep relationship beyond social media. Like, we actually have a deep love, deep relationship that we allow each other, that allows each other to see that growth. You know what I mean? So people who see struggle and growth in us that they, you know, that we would never allow them to be privy to, but we can trust each other with, you know. So, and I think that is all a part of what we're doing here. That is all a part of what we're actually talking about here, and having people around you and having that around, you know what I mean? Yeah. So.
How's Yvonne?
She's good. She's actually, she was teaching yesterday 6 hours straight because it was on Zoom. Students are doing their exams. So she was doing exams with them.
Oh, so this is a crazy season right now until what? July is the same as the UK?
Yeah. Now it's exams, end of semester exams. We're going into the winter now. Winter started here now.
Wow. So hopefully August will get her on. She's going to shed some light on the other side of the coin. Yvonne, man, she stares right through me, man. I can't be around her too long, Ed. She just looks, you can see she's got X-ray vision.
Yeah. She's got that way. Yeah. She's got that way. But I want to thank you, bro.
Yeah, likewise. We'll be talking in a minute, but thank you so much, man. I'll send you a copy of this thing.
Yeah.
Thank you, people, for joining and asking your questions.
Yeah, thanks everyone. I'm gonna jump off so that you can round up with your people.
Sure, thank you.
Thanks for the questions. For those of you who've just poured life and blessing into me, and I've been reading it. Thank you for those words of blessing, for those words of encouragement. Let's do this thing together for our sons. Let's do these things together. Let's do it for ourselves. Let's do it for our fathers. Remind your sons that they can be and more. They can be and they can be more. Yeah. And share this. Share what Juanita and Curtis are doing here as well. This is life. This is life. All right then. Love you. I'm gonna jump out.
Peace. Oh, people, listen, man. All right, part 1. So we got part 2 and part 3 coming. So tomorrow night and the night after. And, you know, we're going sledgehammers, man. We're going heavy on the topic. Still we rise, people. I can't even go through all your comments because it's crazy. It's, So BMC, we copy these down. I rip these down in some magical way. I'll rip it down and put it on YouTube. Don't watch that. It goes to Insta Live now, so it sits there. Luckily, I think Instagram kind of woke up to what needs to be happening. But I'm going to rip it down and put it on YouTube regardless. Rex, who have we got tomorrow? Do you know, I don't even know. Just remind me, is it Rex or Little Black Book? I don't even remember. Help me. Rex, if you're listening, let me know. Anyway, we've got What Men Need to Know tomorrow night, 9 p.m. again. And then the following night, What Men Need to Know. Ashley Love, I'm coming for you. DM me, please, or DM us. I'm coming to you. There's something about you, you know what I'm saying? You got something in you. I don't know if I know who you are, but, you know, appreciate your input. Everybody, thank you so much. It's Little Black Book tomorrow. All right, cool. Listen, you know, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be funny too. But we're not playing. We've got to navigate this life. We've got to navigate this life. We've got to find God. We've got to find ourselves. And then we just find life, man. We will live. We're all broken and we're putting ourselves back together slowly but surely. So Rex, you're on Thursday. I'm looking forward to it, man. It's going to be heavy. Rex and I had a silly conversation this week. Oh my gosh. We're going to be having it in front of you guys because we have just a lot to say. But what do men need to know? Share this with your brothers, your sons, your fathers, your pastors, because they're all men, innit? Your husbands, your uncles. Just share this video and invite people and just follow and just help us out. We've got some stuff coming up in the pipeline. No, bro, you're tomorrow. Oh, you all right. So no, we got Rex tomorrow. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. I'm going now. This must be the shortest live we've ever done. Hour and 45. So people, God bless you. Rex, I'll see you tomorrow night. Guys, I'll see you tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Blessings.